Welcome to the Franchising 360 Show, the only show that takes you inside the world of franchising, with hosts Tim Parmeter and Danielle Wright.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of the Franchising 360 Show. I am Tim Parmeter alongside Danielle Wright.
Yep, that's me.
Danielle and I are going to, on this show, give you a 360-degree view of the franchising industry, talk to you about all the things you need to think about to determine if you should become a franchise owner. If so, what's the best one to own? How do you succeed once you are an owner? We're even going to give you tips on how to take your existing business and become a franchise owner. And then today's another episode where we are going to talk to some of those kind of hidden little pieces and integral parts of franchising. One of our kind of supplier buddies today.
Yeah, it takes everybody to make a franchise go crazy.
We talk, obviously, the nature of what we do, but how to become a franchise owner or becoming the franchisor. But there's so many things for people from a career standpoint outside of just being a franchise owner that's available. And our guest today, her company employs tons of people that are not owners, but passionate and talented individuals.
So we talk a lot about support, right? Like most of our guests come in and talk about the franchisor support as a franchisee and all of those things. We think support is just you and I having a conversation, but there's software, there is marketing, there are things that make that business go. I call it the 7 spinning plates. You can't do it alone.
Right.
And so there are vendors, which we call suppliers, and it's a large group of organizations that donate their time, spend money in franchising,
Right.
focused on either a franchisee or a franchisor. Our guest is really focused on the franchisor, but franchisor from a awarding franchises component. And I don't think we separate the two as being really easy, but you have to really look at there's different inflection points with brands and people along that sector.
Yeah, and franchisor supporting the franchisee, suppliers support the franchisor.
A lot of the time, but there are suppliers that do both, right? Like they'll have a division that's franchisor, they'll have a division that's franchisee, and then the franchisor is not just the franchisor, it's franchise development as I'm selling units,
Right.
and the franchise system itself as its current operating structure. So it's like here's this tree of things that bubble down. So.
Love it. So before we get
Do
to
you love it?
I do. I love it. Before we get to our guest, I also love the franchise fun fact segment.
Yeah, what do I got for you?
What you got?
Okay. So you got 2.
Okay.
Say 1 or 2.
1.
Okay. Percentage question again. You got to throw out the number.
Okay.
Okay. How many franchise curious buyers, what have you, start their research online?
Well, clearly, they should start the research by going online to francoach.net. But I'm going to say
Shameless plug, sure.
70. It's my show. 76%.
Close. Did you cheat?
No,
I got to start turning these cards down.
I can't see that far.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So it's over 70%.
Okay.
Of franchise curious buyers start their research online, which means you got to have content. What is content, they say? This thing that we're doing called a TV show. PR, public relations, how do you get out to the public, and your digital storytelling, and all the things that can be talked about your story.
And all of that leads perfectly
I just magically did that, didn't I?
into our look at not just fun facts, but they tie into what the heck we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Next, with our guest here on the Franchising 360 Show. All right, everybody, we are back on the Franchising 360 Show. Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright. And our guest Eager is beyond, not even describes the word for this one. Monica Feid, CEO and COO and co-founder of Thunderly, here to join us. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Avid fan of the show.
So, well, we just finished the first segment of the show, and we did the fun fact, right, which you quoted to us, which like enlarged her ego like
It did not.
10 sizes.
Just proves that someone actually watches
But
it. She's the one person
but
that
it
watches
is still
it.
sponsored by no one. Why is that? Well, can we get a
What are we
Thunderly
doing? Like, what are we doing
sponsorship?
wrong? Here, tell us the things.
So maybe we're going to get an answer to that here.
Yeah.
But first, you've been in franchising a long time. It's a people business. Give us a little scoop on Monica. How'd you get into this crazy world?
I'm going to turn it back on you because you had a Franchise Fun Fact Friday. And it was all about the hotbed that is Waco, Texas, for franchising. And I went to college in Waco. Didn't know about franchising then. I moved to New York City, worked for a publishing company, was recruited back to Waco to work for Baylor University in communications and PR. Still didn't know franchising. But in both of my roles, in publishing and corporate side, I worked with agencies and I loved what they did because on any given day with all the brands that they supported could be so different and exciting. So I knew my next job was going to be on the agency side. And when I moved to Dallas, it was just that. And they said, oh, you're from Waco. And my first client, still a client to this day, the Dwyer Group, now Neighborly. And I learned everything you need to know. It was a blessing. I really learned everything you need to know about franchising from that organization.
I love it. Great. All roads do lead in and out of there, it feels like, in franchising.
And if you're not sure where Waco is, I don't know how to help you.
So for those that don't know, right, and even just like, well, there's franchisors and there's franchisees, but there's all of these other things around it. Really simple. What the heck does Thunderly do?
So we're an integrated franchise marketing agency. We mostly work with the franchise development side of the house on our roster, and clients come to us for our services to help them grow to more locations across the country and around the world. But I'm a kid in a candy store because we have like this full toolbox, and I am not the smartest person in the room, but we have, video, we have podcast production, we have content creation, PR, website design, and lead gen advertising. So when people come to us to grow their organization or help support that franchise development role, we can bring that full suite of services to the effort.
So out of all of those things that you do, what's your favorite thing about?
I've been a storyteller my whole life. I kind of, no joke, created my first newspaper in the 4th grade.
Wow.
Yes. And I did it because I wanted to have the power of like, who in my class do I get to make famous?
Oh.
And by middle school, I was the features editor of a magazine. Quite kind of unusual to have that in the curriculum. But I became a journalism and PR major, and then I graduated into the field of PR. But no matter what we're doing at Thunderly, we are all storytellers.
Okay.
And I like to tell people I have a front row seat to the American dream live and in action every day. Because we work with amazing leaders. I mean, you can look at our roster and they are franchise legends, but it's the franchisees that we love to shine the spotlight on.
Because they took a leap of faith for themselves. Right. We don't talk about that a lot here. We have had them on the show a lot, and I think it gives you so much excitement just being a part of their journey. Out of all of the things like Thunderly does and all of the people that are watching, how would it apply to them per se? I'm starting a new franchise or I'm part of a group. Should they be asking questions about who their suppliers or support people are in the PR?
Yes, ironically, we've kind of evolved into this full service firm because in an AI world, you don't necessarily click on links. You prompt, you ask questions, and you take answers on faith.
Okay.
And so really what we're doing is trying to be consistent with the messaging so that those franchise opportunities show up for audiences. And honestly, the algorithms change all the time.
Every day.
It is a race to stay relevant. But, back in my just PR agency days, clients would hire a video agency or a
Okay.
PR agency or a lead gen agency, and we all had the same task.
Right.
We were all trying to help a franchisor grow, and none of us talked to each other.
Ugh.
So it's kind of nice to have, all the experts under one roof.
Lovely. And great for your clients too, right? It's one person. It's really kind of taking that holistic approach. You talk about some of the franchisees though, because that just triggered something. I am sure have seen amazing stories over the years of franchisees and how it has changed their lives, right? And as a storyteller, my guess is if I asked you to tell a story about one of them, what do you got?
They're so hard to pick. You have Amal Coley. He started out waiting tables at a Friendly's restaurant. And then he became a franchisee. Then he owned 30 Friendly's
Oh,
restaurants.
my.
And now he's chairman of the board of Bricks Holdings. And he's not even 40 years old. And that's over Friendly's, Clean Juice, Orange Leaf Frozen Yogurt, Red Mangoes, Smoothie Factory. I mean, that's just the American dream in action, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So how? But right, like I think people can resonate with hey, I started here and now I kind of worked my way up. What did you see from that person that helped them do that?
You hear a lot of talk out there, and there's a lot of single unit owner operators,
Yeah.
but this talk about multi-unit franchisees, mumbos, multi-unit, multi-brand franchisees. Now there's mums, multi-unit, multi-sector. So maybe not even just in restaurants, but restaurants and fitness or you name it. And they just become so great on a granular level of following a system and building a great team. And they are able to duplicate that over and over again as they double down on the business and add more locations or add more brands. And that's how somebody who was waiting tables, really sharpens the saw, so to speak.
I love that.
I know. And then
And now we have a new acronym. Let's add it to the list.
I know. I'm gonna write that one down. And I think for all of the growth, still, I'm guessing you've seen this too. Some of the happiest franchise owners are the single unit owners because it's still
They are.
their dream.
Oh gosh, I could name them. Melanie Whipple Ramos.
You just made that name up.
I did not make that name up. She's a fantastic success story. She was, she thought she had job security. She worked for a Fortune 50 company named Disney. And during COVID, what happened? The park shut down. And she had like a corporate job where she was actually overseeing payroll for 70,000 employees. And she got furloughed. And she decided to take control of her career like so many people do.
Right.
Today, she is a franchisee with Blue Moon Estate Sales, part of Best Life Brands.
Right. Okay.
And she quickly rose to become number one in that system. She has a great team. She makes more money than she makes at Disney. And she controls her destiny. She was also becoming a new mom at that time, and she wanted a career that would allow her to have, that balance.
And clearly, the experience at Disney led her to Blue Moon Estate
Wow.
Sales, right? Which we see all of the time. We're going to take a quick break and then come right back because we've got tons more with Monica Feid from Thunderly right after this on the Franchising 360 show. All right, we are back on the Franchising 360 show. Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright and our guest from Thunderly Marketing, Monica Feid. Monica, all the different things, and especially now for you guys that you're kind of all in-house. For people that don't really know what the heck franchising is, let alone all of the support type of things or how marketing and PR may help them as a franchise owner and kind of that storytelling piece, give us an example of what that might be. If I'm going to be a new franchise owner, well, I got to figure out how to market and PR my own unit and be out there as a storyteller and a brand ambassador. How might that work?
We mostly work with the headquarters level, and we're not in the weeds with franchise network. We have some brands that have, 1,000 locations. What we try to do is provide that brand message that is easily replicated at the store level on Main Street America. But I will say, as part of my job as a professional communicator, that we should all be doing is educating everybody at large about the franchise business model, because it really is its own Achilles heel. It is so successful beautifully successful, that it has the power to take small brands and turn them into big brands, and those big brands become household names. And that gets confused. People look at franchise brands as giant corporations instead of a collection of small businesses.
Right. Yeah. No. And you talk about that, the brand message, and you think of the brand consistency, whether it's McDonald's or whatever. I go to McDonald's, I know a Big Mac's going to have certain thing, right? So as an owner, being able to, you guys help the brand give that owner their talking points kind of in that local market. So everybody is saying and doing the same things is key to the franchise model.
Right. There isn't a brand out there that doesn't have their motto, their logo, their uniformity, and good franchisors will help execute at the local level. That's one reason people get into franchising. They don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, but they sure would love a proven system.
Right.
So at what stage of growth? So if we have viewers that, hey, I have a business and I'm considering franchising it, and they're starting maybe in a tri-state area per se, not trying to be global or national, is there ever a too early time to engage the services of a Thunderly to help them? In my head, I'm answering the question, but in your expertise, what does that look like from a timeline of engagement?
Our target customer or client on our roster is not an emerging brand.
Okay.
They're a very established brand, and I'm a solid believer in unit level economics. They have a successful system that we want to help promote. That's not to say we never work with emerging brands. Most of our roster are platform companies, but those platform companies will acquire and add smaller brands to then grow. Like there's so many Neighborly, Empower brands, Best Life brands, Propelled brands, Kahala brands. You can look at our roster, and there are headquarters they use shared services
But explain
to
that.
replicate.
Explain platform for people that don't know what that means.
Because we've had people explain it, but maybe your viewpoint is different.
They might have done it specific to their platform brand versus explain what that means.
So a platform company is definitely a parent or an umbrella over several franchisor networks underneath our domain, and they will then replicate the success of the training, the marketing, the onboarding, those things that they do well for one brand, they do for other brands. So take Best Life brands as an example. They have Comfort Care, Care Patrol, Blue Moon Estate Sales, Boost Home Healthcare, Next Day Access. They are the continuum across senior care. And so some brands are the largest in their category, and others are just coming up. Like Next Day Access was acquired last year, and they already have 100 locations. They would not have had that, scale without the success of a headquarters team that knows how to grow in that category successfully.
Interesting.
So it takes some of those, if all of a sudden they bring on an emerging brand, somebody might be a little fearful of, oh, that's new, but you can see all the rest of the support, like the platform brand has been here before. I'm guessing that can really provide some comfort for people, right?
If you go to those conventions, those franchisee conventions, the new kids on the block are just in awe of what they get to participate in now. It feels so established and proven, and there is a network of peers that they're now exposed to that they wouldn't have had if they were just that single brand.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that on a previous episode. It's like that going into business for yourself but not by yourself is such a cliche. I was on one of your colleagues' podcasts and we were talking about cliches and franchising, and that was one of them, but it's one of the things that kind of sticks true to you don't have to be alone. And if you're choosing to be alone, that's your choice. That's the whole point of the franchise model, I feel, for myself, is that I don't have to be by myself. I can ask other people for help or jump in like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. That's the point of franchising in general.
The glaring reality that the business model encountered during the pandemic, that rapidly escalated the advantages of being part of a franchise network. I ended up writing my master thesis on it.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't have a single franchisor that went out of business, and these franchisees had this educational advantage on how to lobby to be an essential business, how to qualify for PPP loans, all the supply chain demand that was, in just a disarray. And you saw those franchisees succeed to a greater extent than independent mom and pop businesses that were lost forever.
Right, because
Yeah.
they're out there by themselves. They
They're-
really are by
Yeah.
themselves.
And they look at it and I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I would rather just not. I would rather just
Right.
crawl back underneath the bed and like not come back out.
Yeah.
Like I've had a client recently ask about pandemic. Like, how do I find a brand that if another COVID happens, I said, what you don't realize is that a lot of franchises were setting the precedent for you to be able to work through something like that again. And that,
You know, propelled brands. Catherine Munson had heard from colleagues in China what was already happening before it got here. She set the ball in motion. We've got to be able to work remotely. We've got to be able to communicate with our franchise networks. We've got to have this best practices across our system. And people, you know, at
Right.
headquarters were like, what are you talking about? And of course, it was the smartest move ever.
Right.
leaders.
Because you think
leaders.
it's like, I mean, it's literally, well, trade secret. We're not airing this when we're filming it, right? But we're literally almost 6 years to the day of when that was, right? Which feels so long ago, but like, you didn't Zoom, right? Maybe you did that before. We were watching some TV show recently. They talked about Skype, and you're like, oh, that's funny, right? And first, I can't thank you enough for coming on. 'Cause
Yes.
This is fantastic, and I got to figure out how do we get you back on some capacity to talk some more. What's one thing before we let you go? Maybe you've been in franchise a long time. Something people don't know that might help them see this as an opportunity or a pathway for them.
You know, and I recently wrote an article about this, about resales. The beauty of franchising is when you should start, you should already have the exit in mind.
Yeah.
And there are so many franchisors that, you know, onboard people and coach them to that because you don't plan to or want to work forever.
Right.
Now, there can be generational wealth and it can
Correct.
pass to the next generation and families. And I love those stories
I
too. But there's just an exit strategy that doesn't exist at the same level without that brand identity and the proven system that you will get with franchising.
Yeah. And you can't do that with your job. Let me start my job during onboarding. Talk to me about my exit strategy, how I can
Tell me
sell
I'm
my
going to cash in that
job to the
401k
next
later. Yeah.
person. Not there. And again, Monica, thank you so much for joining us here today. And hopefully we can snag you back in here again soon.
I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Monica Feid of Thunderly here on the Franchising 360 Show. Thanks again for watching the Franchising 360 Show, brought to you by Fran Coach. Danielle and I hope these episodes continue to educate you on the franchise industry. In between our episodes, if you would like to learn more about franchising and the ways in which Fran Coach can help, there are a few places you should check out. First, be sure to listen to the award-winning Franchising 101 podcast. You can find this on Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Next, check out the Fran Coach YouTube channel, Fran Coach for You. You can catch past episodes of the Franchising 360 Show, plus tons of other content. If you like to read, we encourage you to check out the book, Becoming a Franchise Owner. And finally, when you are ready to take that first personalized step and explore franchise industry further, please reach out to our amazing team at Fran Coach. There is never any fee for our service, so let us help you create your better tomorrow. Until next week, for Danielle Wright, I'm Tim Parmeter. Thanks for tuning in to the Franchising 360 Show.